And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at a really small card game called Tybor the Builder. Now this is set in the same universe, I think, as Oh My Goods. Lookout games all tend to look like they're in the same universe anyway. But this is a small card game. I thought, wow, this game looks complicated because there's so much stuff on the cover. But then I realized it's in 2 languages. You know, they're selling it. This is like a limited edition type game. I'm not even sure how easy this game is to find. But, hey, it's from one of the designers is Alexander Pfister, and he makes pretty good stuff. So I figured I'd give it a whirl. Here's how you play it. There are a lot of cards in this game. There are 2 sets of cards. There are building cards, and there are regular buildings and then a great building, which is essentially the same building, but it's worth 3 more points. And the buildings are of 4 different colors. So at the beginning of each round of the game, you are going to deal out buildings equal to the number of players plus 2. The game itself is kind of made of, you're picking a scenario, which gives you some sort of story, but essentially it's just a way to give you a certain way that points are going to be scored at the end of the game. And then each of the scenarios, this is the background, a story. This is the scenario. The scenario tells you the cost of buildings each round of the game. There are 4 rounds of the game. And also another way or something else that might be possible scoring. So each thing is going to change. So you kind of have different, this sounds more like in depth than it is, but it's basically just the 2 rules for this game. Now the game is going to revolve around the citizen cards, and so players are going to have a hand of them each round, and what you're going to do is you're going to be taking one of these cards, playing it face down, and then revealing it and doing something with it. Now there are 3 things that you can do with it. First of all, you can play it as a citizen. When you play a card, everyone reveals them, you just play your citizens above your reference card like that. You can play it as a worker. If you play it as a worker, you put it to the side over here. And so as the game goes by, you might be getting citizens and workers. But another thing you can do is you can build a building. When building a building, you are going to just simply discard the card that you played. It doesn't matter anymore. You're just going to build one of the buildings out here. And so you pick what color building you want to build. You're going to look at the scenario card. So if this is round 1, the small building costs 3, the large buildings cost 7. If it had been round 4, the small buildings would cost 6, the large buildings would cost 10. The currency that you pay is your workers. When a card's over here in worker, the only thing that matters is the fists. So here I have 8. So my first turn, maybe I want to use these to buy a building. Now, your citizens up here will give you discounts on buildings based on the colors. So on yellow buildings, I have a discount of 2. On blue buildings, I have a discount of 1. On orange buildings, I have a discount of 1. So perhaps I'd like to buy one of these yellow buildings. That's a discount of 2. It's round 1. They cost 7, so I only need to pay 5. Unfortunately for me, I have 2 workers here that are 4 each, and you don't get change. So I spend both of these and I buy a big building. So I might just decide to build the church. And I'll put it over here, which is going to be 9 points at the end of the game. And each building that you build is going to be worth a certain number of points, but also they're going to get bonus points. Like this one here, for every set of every color at the end of the game, you'll get 3 points. This one here, for every 2 blues, you get 2 points. This one here has a grain on it, and for every 3 grain, you're going to get 5 points. But that grain could also come from some citizens. The citizens also will give this bonus. At the end of the game, you're going to be scoring for these different resources. So this soldier, for example, only gives you a discount of 1 on orange, but he gives you a sword, and every 4 swords you have is worth 8 points. And that's basically how the game is going to be. You're going to be playing these citizens for 2 reasons. 1, because they're going to be scoring you different points, so you might want to try to get combinations. Like here, the captain. The more of these wheels that you have, the more points you're going to get at the end of the game. Like if I have 6 or more of them, I get 3 times the number I have. That's pretty cool. While a priest here, I get 5 points for the first cross, and that's it. So you're going to be trying to figure it out. So these symbols are on these citizens, but they're also on buildings. And at the same time, you may just want to build buildings that are worth points. And then finally, you're also going to be looking at the whatever the scenario it is that you're playing. So for every 3 of these symbols I have, I get 5 points. So that might be something I'm looking at too. And that's it. After everyone has drafted and played the cards in their hands, you will replace the buildings in the middle with more buildings from the pile of buildings that you have. You'll start another round. You do this 4 times. The cost of the buildings goes up each time, and whoever has the most points at the end of the game is the winner. Now this is a game that's trying to fit a lot into a box with a lot of different information on the cards. It's not too bad. You might have to look up in a book, like whoever has the most tools at the end gets 6 points, second most gets 2. But after a while, you'll figure all these out. They're not that complex. They did, I think, on these scenario and story cards, they're trying to put some sort of story, and you can play through this story. I'm going to be honest, that means nothing. You just sit there and go, okay, everyone, this is the special rule for this game. You look it up, this is what this means, and do that. The rest of it's kind of, I don't know. And these cards, the 4 costs, they're pretty much the same, I think, for all the different things. So I would have just rather had a card out in the middle that you put for each one. Anyway, not a huge deal, but it just, everything seems cluttered. Like even the box cover, right? This box cover just looks cluttered. There's stuff here and here and here and here. And so the game is good. I just think there's a lot of clutter involved with it, and they probably could have made it a slightly larger game. So that's the game here. It is essentially a mix of many things. A lot of these games, these card games in this universe, you're using cards for various things. And that's the way it is in this one. It has like some slight comparison maybe to games where you're playing cards around something, Glory to Rome. There's also a drafting game. But here's the thing, folks. When you put all this together, it works. I guess that surprise might be a strong word, because again, with Mr. Pfister, I expect the designs to be good. So I wasn't like, oh, this is good, wow. At the same time, I was like, I'm really having a good time here. Because you have to kind of sit and go for a specific strategy. And so part of that's dictated by the scenario and the story cards. And again, I kind of wish they had done that a better way. Like, here's a pile of tiles, pull 2 tiles, and those are the points that you score for this game. I think that would have been better. This whole, I don't care about the backstory, and I'm not sure anyone actually does. But when you get these cards and you're drafting them, you're doing a couple things. You're saying, okay, do I want to make a citizen? You can make a whole pile of citizens. You can almost ignore the buildings. Just make a ton of citizens, play a lot of citizens. They're free. They don't cost you anything. And that does a couple things for you. It gives you a lot of points. They're going to do things in various ways. And maybe in the last round, you can suddenly start building buildings for almost nothing. Or you can put out the workers. Now, the workers, obviously, if you get a 9 fist on the card, that's a great worker to have. But what are you giving up? What cool citizen are you giving up? And then, of course, it's the drafting thing. I'm taking good cards for myself and drafting cards, so hopefully you probably won't get the really good ones either. And then what buildings you want to build. Turn order matters in this game when it comes to building buildings, and the turn will pass around. But at the same time, do I want to build a building and spend more workers on it, or maybe wait a little bit till I have more citizens to make the cost of it, inexpensive? And then what buildings? So I want to get buildings that match my citizens thing. Do I want to really go all in for the wheat symbols or the tool symbols? And the special buildings, or do I want to build the big buildings or the small buildings? Now, these aren't hard choices at all. This is not like I'm sitting there going, I don't know what to do. There's so many options. No, you have a few options in your turn. You're going to draft a card and then put it in 2 spaces or discard it and build a building. But it feels cool. It feels that your tableau of cards in front of you are growing and your discounts are getting better. Of course, the cost of the buildings goes up every round, but still your discounts and the workers you get. And it has this really smooth feeling. The game itself takes around 30 minutes, but has a feeling of a deeper, more involved game. This is drafting done Euro style, and I think it works. So I don't know how easy this game is going to get to be. I don't know if it's going to be remade with the purchase of Lookout by Asmodee. Who knows where this game is going to end up. But it's a solid one, and if you come across it, I highly recommend you trying it out. Drafting, but more involved. Dice Tower Judgment, approved!
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.